Hi everyone. So we are a big crowd here. That's a nice thing. Thank you for coming. And today we are speaking about motivating people. I'm sure most of you do work in teams, and teams can be different. And we believe it is really important to know how to motivate your people, or not your people, or people that you work with, depending on the type of the teams you're working with.
All right, that's loud, sorry. Let me tell you a bit about who we are as a company. We're Allcorrect. We're a game content studio. We've been around for over 17 years now, and over those 17 years we've grew to become a company that bridges two separate worlds. Both are creative, which is localization and art. Our main goal is to enrich the experience of the players, the final users, and we do aim to deliver something, meaning localization and art, speaking the same language, to reflect our main goal.
Hey, yeah, but first, just a bit about us, who we are actually, and I begin with myself. My name is Marina, and I have been with Allcorrect for 14 years. So, yeah, I have witnessed and have been a part of the growth and the development of the company, which started as a small startup of 20 people, and now have grown into a mature company with 100 employees and legal presence in Europe, in Asia, and in Canada. So I can say that I'm a true Allcorrect corporate culture native. Yep.
And me, I'm Anastasia. Marina happens to be my team leader. I can also be called a part of the legacy team of Allcorrect because I've been around for over 4 years now. But I've been working, we're going to talk about localization and art divisions here today. And let me tell you that I've been with the art division from the very beginning, so you can say I've been studying them as a biologist from day one. So yeah, my field studies allowed me to gain some experience working with a startup team and then also working with a mature team.
Yeah, but first probably we should mention some terminology, because today we are speaking either about legacy teams or about startups, and legacy teams can also be called like mature teams or whatever else, old teams. But yeah, let's start from the very beginning. We are an old company, and localization is our strongest muscle, has been all these years. And at some point we decided that localization is not the only thing that we can do, because we are really good at management, at project management, and at some point the arts division appeared. So now we are in a position where we actually have two team archetypes under one roof, the one being the older team and the other being the newer team or an internal startup. And these two teams are completely different. They are different in size, they are different in the maturity of processes, they are different in the overall vibe. And for us, it has become really important to understand what motivates people in these two types of teams. Hey. A piece of boring theory.
Yeah, and obviously it's me to bore you with that to death. 10 a.m. in the morning on a Saturday. So, do you guys know who archetypes is, maybe? I guess not, but he's the guy who created the theory which describes companies as living organisms or living things, and they go through a certain cycle. And that cycle has several stages, and each stage has its own, let's say, obstacles, management requirements, and so on and so forth. Each has their own traits. Yeah, you basically start with birth, go into adolescence, then you get stable, and then you die out. if you're not lucky, and if you're lucky, you get back to renewal. So if we go through those stages step by step, the first one would be, I don't know if you can see it actually, but the first one would be courtship. It's the stage where you have an idea and you have vision, but you have no real commitment yet. The next one would be infancy. Infancy is basically the stage where you're focused on your own survival. It's very founder-driven, and decisions that the company is taking is very much driven by the founders of it. The third stage would be go-go stage, not the dance, but rather just the stage. It's characterized by rapid expansion, but it's very opportunity-driven and still very chaotic, meaning you don't have any stable processes yet. And it's followed by adolescence. It's the stage where you actually start facing struggles. Power struggles emerge as you grow. You see opportunities everywhere, but the structure is still remaining very much shaky.
And the next stage is prime. I should say that probably prime is the best stage of all, because here we can witness the company's peak performance. And here there is the balance of entrepreneurship and administration. And after prime, there is a stable stage where we can see steady results, but we can also see the loss of cutting edge and urgency, unfortunately. And then not you gradually move, but a company gradually moves to aristocracy, where the processes start to prevail over market, and where we can see prestige without any innovation. Then we move to recrimination with blame, internal politics, and declining performance. Then bureaucracy with its rigid processes, with innovation being stifled and efficiency failing. And finally, death. But according to Odysseus, these stages, they are all very natural. I mean, the order of them coming one after another, but a company may discover itself at some stage and turn things back. So it is possible to go back from, let's say, aristocracy to prime or adolescence and so on. We had this corporate educational webinar around maybe several months ago. It was a big event. The whole company took part in this educational thing, after which we had a bit of, we had a questionnaire, and we all filled out that questionnaire to find out where Allcorrect actually is. And the results were interesting, because some part of us defined Allcorrect as being somewhere between prime and aristocracy, and that was actually the localization part of the company, while art has defined themselves as going through infancy towards adolescence. And that was an interesting moment. This moment allowed us to realize that both the teams may require something to either look back, like for localization, or either gain some maturity in case of arts. So how do we actually do it? Yeah, so basically whatever we do, whatever service we represent to our clients and partners, they see both sides in the end. So we need to collaborate as smooth as possible in order to achieve our common goal. But there are some challenges that pop up every day. And one of them would be the mismatched tempo. This is something that we figured out for ourselves. And let me explain, because it might not be the same for you guys with your teams. Art division, in our case, works quite slow, I would say. No offense here, but yes, they do. And I'm talking from a perspective of being part of the legacy team. That's why I'm saying quite slow. Localization team, for instance, creates quotes or estimate time and budget-wise for the clients in a matter of several hours.
while art division can take a week to iterate because they need to gather all of the information and there is a lot of detail to talk through with the client before actually presenting the numbers. So it kind of feels like one division lives in slow motion and the other one in fast forward, which is weird. We also face handoff friction on a day-to-day basis. Art, in our case again, uses its own environment, which is called Asana. Maybe some of you guys are familiar with that one. And sometimes it makes it quite difficult for my colleagues, account managers and sales managers, to, for example, download deliverables from there, because we just don't know how to work with the tool. So yeah, these kind of mindset differences are very, very present, and yeah, you kind of need some time to overstep those. Common sense is not so common, this is what I wanted to say. And there are more of them.
Yeah, and then it all leads to conflict in priorities. So while art prioritizes creative velocity, localization emphasizes predictability, producing recurring fights over deadlines and quality criteria. Yeah, by the way, quality criteria is a perfect example here, because in localization, before delivering any asset to the requester, we have a very stable quality assurance process. We have checklists, we have managers check, we have whatsoever, but this process is very clear and understandable to any person involved. While in arts, it turned out that it depends upon the task itself, whether it's 2D, 3D, animation, whatever. So concerning the quality assurance for arts, sometimes it's just enough for the art lead to have a look at the final asset and that's it. And sometimes you need to involve many people so that each of them would justify their decisions and so on. So yeah, we are different. And of course, knowledge asymmetry. While localization assumes mature inputs, art expects flexible acceptance of rough assets. I'd say this illustration of two versions of Defo would be the perfect example here. While the younger Defo is fast, energetic, probably furious, and the other version of Defo is, well, wise and experienced.
Right, but with all those challenges come opportunities, but opportunities only come if you take several steps to achieve them. And the first step for us would be to define a minimum handoff contract. These specifications that the slide is talking about, let me set an example straight away, because this is going to be easier to understand. So in localization, we have a project Bible. This is a document that we fill in with the client regarding all of the text specifications. It has, oh my god, like 86 questions, I think maybe even more now, about everything, like what could break the code when localizing, which symbols shouldn't we use, what's the target audience, so how should we treat the player, should we be formal or informal towards the player, and so on and so forth. And our department kind of took this from localization and created art brief. This is also something like an internal document that we use with all of the specifications of the task that might be useful for the artists and lead artists to use. That sometimes includes even the color palette that the client prefers. Because, I mean, vibrant red and burgundy red are very different, and, you know, you should follow the rules that are set by your client. The next one would be to use shared tooling and templates. Yeah, and this is again about some of the practices that we have in localization that our department uses as well, which makes it much, much easier to do whatever you're doing, because the process of production, while being very, very different for art and localization, is still a process that involves a lot of people, and you gotta have a structure in order to achieve the best result.
Yeah, and another handy tool, another handy opportunity here is having shared lightweight rituals. What does it mean? Shared means that we all do the same thing. Lightweight means this thing should be very simple for everybody involved. And rituals means that it is something recurring. It is something that happens once in a while, and all the involved people know when it happens. For us, it has become, the example here for us would be a weekly meeting where all the account managers of Allcorrect, people who interact with clients most of all, gather with the production team in art, and we have very clear agenda. We discuss our tasks for this week. We discuss our tasks, the issues in production, whatever, and we quickly align on the things that we are all going to do, how to solve problems, and so on. And the next here is cross-training rotations. This is my favorite. What do we have? Short secondments, so art learns localization constraints and localization learns creative workflows. In our case, let's begin with this. Imagine an account manager or a sales manager who has been into localization for many years, who has been selling localization, knowing everything about the processes and so on. And one day somebody comes and says, okay, tomorrow you start selling arts. But you know nothing about arts, how to do that. And at first, of course, it's some kind of excitement, but after all, you just don't know how to do it. And the best thing to immerse yourself into the process is to dive deeply into it. So in our case, these were 2 weeks internships in arts where every account manager would go into the production of arts and act as a junior project manager. And each time an account manager would go back to the team, they would have their eyes gleaming, because this is the point where the understanding is born, understanding of what's going on here actually. And from that point, it is way easier to acquire new knowledge.
If you're thinking it's time for us to give you some advice on how to motivate people in your teams, it's not that time yet, sorry. We're going to talk about behavior patterns of startup teams. There are several of them. I'll go a bit into detail of each one. So first one would be the culture of urgency and belief. Obviously startup teams are very motivated to do stuff because it's exciting for them. They're very energetic. They have very high loyalty to the founder. They tolerate chaos. A real life example would be searching, for instance, for a 2D artist, like a suitable one for the specific task, at 2 a.m. That's perfectly normal. People are ready to do that in a startup team. I don't think anybody from the legacy team would do that. The next one is idea is heavy and structure is light. You basically have a lot of ideas in one shared folder and you're fine with it. That's enough. That's a good basis for a start. You also have a lot of optimistic plans, but there are no processes just yet. Your approach to that would be, okay, so we finalized one project and it was a great success. So all of the rest of the projects in the world are waiting for us and we're going to do it easily. The third one, minimal processes, that's my favorite one. As somebody who worked for quite some time with a very set mindset, with localization processes which are clear and the flow is very understandable, you kind of come into a startup team and you see few policies, very little documentation, hot fixes, like something is going wrong, and you're like, okay, we have to deliver something to the client tomorrow. And you can actually pivot stuff right there the same day and deliver the final result tomorrow being okay. The fourth is fluid roles and generalists. So basically the project manager who has handled something that was, I don't want to say a disaster, but that was a difficult task, okay? And they gain another position in the company. Instead of being, let's say, a project manager, they become a lead project manager or an expert. But they're still working on the projects. They're still in the field working with everybody else because the position doesn't matter. Everybody does everything. And the last one, cash is oxygen. While money isn't everything, it's definitely something. And startup teams, they are not planning ahead too much. Planning is not involved there yet. People don't think of that term at all. They basically have this approach that, okay, so we've spent this much, but we also earned this much, and the difference is basically what we can use, and that's it. Yeah, and that's about the patterns.
Yeah, I believe that somebody has recognized yourself in all this, right? And if we talk about the stable teams, the legacy teams, the behavior patterns are all the way around here. It's clear commitments first. It's about deadlines being specific and renegotiated every time, early when risk appears. Heroics here are rare and examined and studied and not celebrated as a norm. This is a norm in startup, but not a norm in a legacy team, in a mature team. Ownership over activity, which means that we don't do something for the sake of doing something. We do it for the sake of the result. And teams talk outcomes, not tasks. For example, this month the conversion ratio has risen 25%. Missed targets trigger blameless postmortems with clear fixes and owners. The keyword here is blameless postmortems. What else? Focus on individual outcomes prevails. However sad this might sound, but still individual comes first here. And the distance between companies' objectives and personal career goals is becoming more obvious, more seen. And compared to the state of a startup, roles are rigidly defined, and not my job behavior is getting common. This is not bad. This is just something that is closely connected with the organizational design. As you can see, stable teams become more functionally isolated. In our case, in localization, we have 4 production teams. And it's a lot. Each team has its team lead, managers of all sorts, like juniors, middles, and so on. And it's only the production part of the localization. We also have additional specialist units like research and development, linguistics, vendor management, finance, and even brand management and office. But the good thing here is the planning horizon broadens. We prefer for long-term planning as we already have some financial stability. We have been on the market for many years, we know what to expect, and we actually expect.
Lucky bastards. Okay, now let's talk about motivation, like the caffeine that keeps the wheel spinning, everything going. At this point of Allcorrect's art division story, I would say that the real drive of the team doesn't come from task tracking tools or whatever. It doesn't come from numbers too much. What really matters for the team is recognition. It's when your work is getting noticed, celebrated, and talked about. An example of that, of how we do that for the team, would be us compiling a monthly report. And there is like a specific time which we invest into creating slides with the greatest task that we handled in the art division this month. And it's shown there, it's being talked about, there are shout outs to people who have been in the team. And yeah, you actually feel like a part of something bigger, and that matters a lot. Localization team, in turn, can be working on something huge, the game of the decade, show it briefly for like 2 seconds, just announce the name and be like, okay, cool, what's next? Which is very different. Then we have social glue. What you see here is our lead artist. And yeah, one of our colleagues' daughter broke her hand, unfortunately, and he drew stuff on that, that was cute. And this is something that we do. Social glue is not only about, going to karaoke or sharing memes, although it is. It's something that keeps everybody in the team sane. You can run a long run if you feel alive and you feel like you belong to something. And then our leadership. The managers that we have, they're not the kind of sitting in the corner and letting you drown in your struggle. They're here with the project managers in the trenches. They're taking on the same tasks, and they actually admit if they mess up. And this vulnerability creates trust and shows that everybody is in this together, which is also bonding the team very much. Aha, that's also mine. Sorry. Okay, so what does it look like day to day? How do we actually manage to do that? We do celebrate often, and this report that I mentioned is one of it, but also peer recognition falls into that category for me, because it's not just a corporate, you did a great job, good for you. It's usually like, wow, dude, that was awesome. And when you get this kind of praise from a colleague, it hits completely different. Low hierarchy feedback. We're all here in that art division, like startup division, to share honest feedback, and it doesn't matter how senior you are, you just talk openly and you express your candid opinion, and nobody is gonna kind of bring you back to the hierarchy. Manager as player, something that I described before also, but let me give you examples. Like our lead artist, we have art critics. It's like when you gather the team, what Marina also was mentioning, and you go through the aspects of the task, the description of the task, step by step, and not only the project manager and the artists do that, but also the art leads. Sometimes even the head of the art department joins, because why not? Art leads and team leads discuss art estimates, potential pipeline changes if that's needed to handle the task, and some of them are even taking part in onboarding the team, although we have the team of vendor managers for that. So yeah, every manager is a player too. And then shared ownership. There are no lone heroes. The scoreboard belongs to everybody. All the wins are collective, but also all the lessons are collective. So we're in this together. It's not just the job that we're doing, it's the craft. Which craft?
Yeah, we're seemingly pressed for time, so I'll try to be concise. This is speaking about legacy teams. The core drive here would be the recognition of personal performance tied to companies' key performance indicators. So as opposed to the state of startup where we are one family and we celebrate everything with the whole family. Here, personal is more important. This is a chart, a combined chart of all the account managers in my team. And as you can see, the leading motivational type here is professional. What is important here that people who work for many years at the same company, at the same position probably, they should enjoy what they do. And as a manager, I should give them all the things to enjoy their job. Yeah, social glue is also important. We don't like partying, we don't like team building. What we do, what we build our trust on is shared key performance indicators and reliable handoffs. So it all looks like a friendship of two nerds probably, but that's the way it is. And the main drivers here would be, again, personal recognition. Then mastery and job crafting, that's the thing I have already mentioned, that people should love their job, should enjoy their job. Autonomy with guardrails. This is about respect for private time. This is about respect for quiet hours or days. We indeed have quiet days. Through the whole company, we have Wednesdays without any meetings. So Wednesdays, no meetings day. It's the best day of the whole week. Yeah, manager should be always reachable so that a professional on the team would find quick and short decision logs and fast escalation paths. Yeah, predictable progression and mobility. We all have skill matrices. This is a short document, short file showing where you are now, what skills you should acquire to jump to the next level, let's say from junior to middle and so on. And of course, this is all accompanied by defined promotion windows. Continuous improvement as a habit, this is something I should not mention here at all, because as a company we are based on lean production, on Toyota principles, and this is just our daily thing.
All right. Marina mentioned several times that account managers in her team enjoy very much what they're doing, which is very true. But we enjoy what we're doing not only because, we like games and we like working on them, but it's also because we trust the company that we're working for. We trust the processes that have been there for years. Everything is transparent and, easy to understand. And if I'm being very honest, with the art division, when it just started, it was very different because of uncertainty. From my side as an account manager who is, experienced in localization and very familiar with the processes, very clear processes, there was this tiny voice in my head asking, what if it all goes wrong? What if it fails, this shiny new department? This anxiety stuff. And then from the other side, the question, I'm pretty sure about this, the question from the art division would be, what if those old-timers don't even understand what we're trying to build here? But, trust does not appear overnight, obviously. It's something that you have to earn. And our head of art, Eugene, he's been with Allcorrect since 2006, the first employee of Allcorrect. I mean, he left us then for 14 years, but got back. He took the idea of earning the trust literally, and he built a process. So every polished asset that we finalized, every project that we delivered on time, every asset that got into the monthly report or quarterly report, that all became visible proof for us that this is success, and it's not a coincidence, it's systematic. At the same time, these were not just slides in the report, they were conversation starters from us. Simple Discord chats, like casual conversations, they are turned into brainstorm calls, and somehow we grew into being partners with each other. And based on that trust that was built over time, we doubled it down with data and technology-driven approach, which is obviously a practice of localization. It's when you analyze every feedback that you're receiving, you kind of put it into the system just for it to stay there. You take a look at what has been done, what could be done, and so on and so forth. It's measurable, it becomes measurable, and it becomes tangible. Also, what's important here is that startup energy is a fuel for growth. Actually, this energy, this kind of vibe that you're getting from the team, it's contagious, and it's the best word to describe it. You cannot not realize what's going on in the team because, they're there. It's also something that you can touch in the air. All right, and then a clear vision. What is that about? It's very easy for the art division to set goals which are achievable, like, okay, we've modeled 12 towers in a month, but we're going to do 30 per month in 3 months. Was it understandable, or did I fail to explain that? Okay, but you get it, right? 30 against 12. That's something that you can measure, that's easy, you know what you're striving for. And yeah, mutual.
That's the last one. Yeah, that's, as a conclusion, what shall we mention? That having your internal startup in a company is very beneficial for everybody because team spirit is contagious and startups' excitement can reincarnate the whole company. I believe this is what is happening with Allcorrect right now. And stable sales processes can fuel startups financially. So this blend of something old and something new, something borrowed and so on, this blend turned out, well, successful. So yeah, teamwork, not always as efficient, but always more fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Wow, thanks. There is coffee downstairs, by the way, if you feel sleepy. I would.